Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of News in Motion. Today is Thursday, November the 9th, 2023, and we just want to say thank you for tuning in, whether you are joining us here live at 7:25 a.m. or if you are catching the replay in the afternoon, evening, or the nighttime. Um, if we have a we may experience a little bit of technical difficulties as we are experiencing some heavy gust of wind in some of our areas. So if you are experiencing some technical difficulties, we apologize in advance, but we will be working to avoid those as best as we can. But we have made it through another week, and here on this emotion, we like to call Thursdays our Friday's Eve. So how has everyone's week been? I know we had voting that happened earlier this week, so it is important that we went out and made sure that our voices were heard. Whether you are tuning in through whether you're tuning in through Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, or audio and podcast, we just want to say thank you for all your support for NIM Today, your news outlet for relevant commentary and call to action news. Of course, we'll be joined momentarily by the one and only Miss Gail Dudley. But first, let's give some shout outs. Shout out to Miss Marion Jackson, who's tuning in through YouTube. The YouTube viewers be pulling up in here early every day, and we love to see it. We truly appreciate it. Good morning, Miss Regina Shorts, tuning in through Facebook. Good morning, Miss Jackie, tuning in through YouTube. Good morning, Miss Adrian, tuning in through YouTube. And she also said, smash that like button. Yes. And also share this with a couple friends because sharing is caring, of course. Good morning, Miss Sardinia. Good morning, Miss Camille Jones. Good morning, Miss Deborah. Good morning, Miss Latrice Jones, who put the newspaper emoji because she's ready for news in motion. And good morning to Mr. Robert Holman. So, without further delay, y'all know what time it is. Let's get ready for some news in motion.
News in motion.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Latrice Jones, I just love you. Y'all, she said, good morning, News in Motion family, or she says, NIM. Drop that news emoji once you have shared NIM. So thank you, thank you, thank you for that. I'm going to pick up where I believe Isaiah left off. So good morning to Robert Holman. Good morning to Shirley Nicholson. I see you, Kim Edmondson. I see you, Deborah Sneed. Good morning. As Isaiah said coming in here, where I live, there's some serious wind happening. So even in the green room, I disappeared off the screen for a little bit. So let's just all pray that we can stay on here until 8 a.m. Eastern time. If not, we want to apologize on the front side if there are technical difficulties, but we're going to pray that we are able to stay on until the end. I see you, Yvonne Gardner. I see you, Lori Wallace. And Marion Jackson, she dropped that newspaper emoji over there on YouTube. So good morning to all of you. Good morning. All right, y'all. As last week, y'all seem to have liked hearing some news or some letters from some people. So I did receive an email. So I received a couple of them, but I pulled out one. And I pulled out a couple of questions as well. I see you, Felicia Williams. I see you, Liz Pryor the third. This is from Larry Wright, and I really like this email that came in. It says, "Sister Gail." I thought that was interesting. It says, "May I call you sister?" And then he goes on to say, "I hope so." He said, "You have changed our morning routine at 6:25 a.m." And then he puts in parentheses, "We are in Arlington, Texas. We gather around the kitchen island to watch News in Motion." He said, "My son Connor, a junior in high school, and my husband Phil fight to get the center stool. Phil passionately pours his mimosa, waiting for you to lift your glass." So, Phil, I had to go ahead and do my pomegranate mimosa. So here it is. Now, this is normally Christmas time, but we're early. But I didn't have any orange juice. So, Phil, this is to you. And he says, "We love you." He said, "To this day, We are not sure how we found you. Anyway, I wanted to express our sincere gratitude for your exceptional election coverage on Tuesday and the insightful analysis of the election results on Wednesday as the host of News in Motion. Your ability to engage with your audience and provide a comprehensive understanding of complex political process is truly commendable. As we turn our attention to the 2024 general election, key elements to focus on include voter education, accessible voting, fair representation, and transparency in the democracy process. We believe you will rock. Your dedication to these principles is invaluable, and we are grateful for your contribution to our democracy. Thank you for your outstanding work, and we look forward to your continued insights and engagement in the future. So, thank you, Larry, Connor, and Phil. I just love letters like that. And y'all, they're tuning in from Arlington, Texas. They get up and they are around their kitchen island at 6:25 a.m. So, thank you. We do have two questions that we received. We have more, but I just pulled out the two. I pulled them out. If anybody's asking me, I pull out the question. Whoever, the first one that's in the inbox. So the earliest one is the one that gets pulled. So from Kelly, she asked, being a host can sometimes come with challenging moments. How do you handle criticism or negative feedback while maintaining your composure and professionalism on the air? Well, her name is Kim Edmondson, and the other name is Latrice Jones. Um, I can go to them, or they'll put in the chat, move on, don't give it any room, let it go. And sometimes it is hard because some people really want to attack. I've gotten some crazy emails, I've gotten some crazy inbox messages, but I keep going. I keep going. So I think after a while, it just rolls off. And again, this past summer, I found my freedom. So I'm doing what I've been called to do. So whatever anyone says, I really don't care anymore, really. Now, if there's some constructive criticism or if there's some feedback that I'm like, let me pay attention to this, then I do pay attention. But if it's just right, all out attacks, Kelly, I let it go. I have not always been that person. Let me be honest with you. And normally, there's been times I've come on the air to like clap back, but I've matured. I've come beyond that, so I keep it going. And so from Joy Keith, yeah, Joy Keith, she says she's a daily replay watcher, and then she puts in parentheses, I'm on the West Coast. So, Joy, when you pull this out later, she says, could you tell us a little about your family and how they support you with News in Motion? Well, I have two children. They're adult children, Alexander and Dominic. You probably hear me talk about Dominic more than Alexander because Dominic works with me. And then my husband. We will be celebrating our 33rd wedding anniversary on November the 30th. My husband is a true supporter. Like they are all true supporters. But my husband, like the setup that I'm in right now, all the screens, the iPad, the latest is a Mac, not a MacBook, yeah, a Mac Air, an Apple Air, 15-inch screen because he heard me say I couldn't see, so he thought he would buy me a bigger screen so I could see. I know I just got to put my glasses on. The whole studio setup is his support. Latrice says, go back to Latrice. Me and Kim got your back always. See, that's what I mean, Kelly. That's what I mean. And then Dr. Annette said, say that I'm still a work in progress. Boom, there you have it. But they support me. My son, and I'll talk about him for a moment. Joy, my son, he could be at the house and I can be talking to somebody. And when we hang up the phone, he's like, Mom, why do you do that? I'm like, what am I doing? He said, you just gave them about $1,000 worth of content. I know you're a giver, but pull back. So my son is in my ear all the time, like, stop giving way too much information. So I have that balance. My daughter is like, "Oh, mom, you're great at that. The way you engage the audience." So they're my supporters. They are. And then, as you see, my brother and sister are on here constantly, tuning in. I have there's five of us, but my brother and my sister are always on here. And then my other sister, I have one sister that not on social media at all. But then I have another sister who's always following and making comments on my social media. So I have a really encouraging family. But that was a great question. Um, um, I won't go into detail of who they are and what they do. I try to also protect my family. So people will usually not see my husband on social media until something like our anniversary, or if there's something we're doing. But I always ask them permission before I post. So there's that. All right. So thank y'all for hanging out with us and sending in questions. I love that piece. That gives you another side of me and who I am and what I do. So thank you for that. So let's get into the news, y'all. Have we gone too far? And can we come back? Y'all, HuffPost reports, and I tuned in for a little bit and I had to turn it off because it was just like, what is this? The circus or what? But former UN ambassador Nikki Haley, y'all, she went after Ramaswamy. Yeah, she did, because he brought up her daughter. I don't care that she is in her 20s, but you leave the kids out of it. And this came up when it came to TikTok. It came up when it came to TikTok. And he says, and I quote, her own daughter, because the question was raised, would you ban TikTok if you became president? That was the question. He said, and I quote, her daughter was actually using the app for a long time. So you might want to take care of your family first. I was like, what kind of answer is that? And that's what he said. Now the audience did boo. They didn't like that at all. And so she replied back, leave my daughter out of your voice. You're just scum. That's how she hit back. Now she got some good clapbacks. Now, while discussing foreign policy, Ramaswamy called Haley Dick Cheney in 3-inch heels, referring to the former GOP vice president. She didn't take that either. She hit back with that and said, I first like to say, and I actually kind of like this response. They're 5-inch heels. And then she says, and I don't wear them unless I can run in them. So take that. Hello, somebody. When I used to wear heels all the time, after after COVID, it's like, I ain't putting those back on. But in the store, I would literally put them on and see if I could run in them, if I could jump in them before I bought them. That's a thing. That's a thing for anybody who used to wear heels or wear heels. We do check out and see if we can run in them. So so there's that. So y'all, November 17th is 8 days away. Okay. And it's not looking good for government workers. It's not looking good. So to fully fund the federal government, Congress must pass all 12 appropriation bills. Now, the House Republicans are currently in talks to pass 4 of those bills. Yeah, that's 4. You need some more behind the 4, okay? Now, they're talking transportation, housing, urban development, and that's all under one appropriation bill. And then you have financial services. That's another one. So y'all know me by now. I had to go get real nosy. I wanted to know what was happening here. So I found this write up by subcommittee chair Tom Cole of Oklahoma. Now, back in July, on July 18th to be exact, I found the following. Committee approves fiscal year 24 transportation, housing, and urban development and related agency bills. And I was like, well, you already agreed to this, right? So what am I missing? Well, I had to keep digging. So on yesterday, it said the full committee met to consider fiscal year 2024. And I said, but on July 18th, y'all said y'all did this. So I had to go keep digging. So I went back to November the 6th, just a couple of days ago, and found this. Yvonne Gardner says, we love when you get nosy. What's up, Dr. Antoinette? Look, I have to get real nosy because I want to know and that I want to bring this information to all of you. So on November the 6th, just a couple of days, that was Monday, right? This is what I found because I went digging. And y'all, the U.S. The Copyright Office, that department there has all of this. Just gotta look it up. So I went looking, found a couple of HR bills. Those are called House bills. So um, this is how this subcommittee chair, Tom, this is how he started. He said, first, I would like to point out that last year, and this is a complete transcript, y'all, okay? That last year, I'm not reading all of it to you. My Democratic friends labeled an extra 3.6 billion as emergency funding. We do not repeat that mistake this year. First of all, that didn't make any sense that you said it that way. But second of all, okay, so what was your point of saying that? And he goes on to say, second, The Transportation, Housing, and Urban Development Bill uses receipts from HUD back mortgages and refinancing to offset spending. I was like, okay, so what receipts? Can you show me the receipts? Because there was none attached. And normally things like that are attached to these bills. So I had to keep digging. So I found another piece that says in fiscal year 2023, that's where we are right now. This provided 10 billion to offset spending. But provided for what? Where are the receipts? Where's your document and where are you speaking from? And it says for fiscal year 2024, that receipt number is down 70%. Why few people want to refinance at an 8% interest rate. It made no sense, y'all. It made no sense. So I had to keep looking because I'm like, make this make sense. So where's the 70% coming from? How are you coming up with these budget numbers and items? And why are you slamming the people across the aisle? If you have a $3.6 billion as an emergency fund, why aren't we using that? Help me understand. Is it that I don't understand, or I'm not making the connection, or you just don't want to use that money, or where is it going? All questions that I'm glad that I asked. So they talked about the real spending when the HUD bill of 101 billion in 2023 compared to 93 billion in the bill before them today. So he's like, here's the bill for us today. Okay, so you saving what? 8 billion? What you're already at 93, so why not go up 8 more? And it says this is a decrease of 8 billion, bringing the total slightly below the 2022 level. So he just keeps talking. So then he gets down and says, I'm proud that we provide resources for the Federal Aviation Administration to hire 1,800 new air traffic controllers. And I was like, where did that come from? Like, y'all, this is the transcript. And I'm going to give y'all the link later so y'all can read it yourself because it makes no sense. So he keeps going. He says, we also provide funding for the most critical air traffic control modernization program. We just want the planes to be up in the air and not crash. So help us understand. And how are you hiring these people? What's their background? How many years of experience do they have? And more importantly, how much are you paying them? And how is that going to keep the government open? Let me keep going because these are all questions that I was asking. So the bill provides 60 billion for highways and bridges through the Highway Trust Fund. So y'all clearly, I'm reading the actual transcript. And I said, "Well, how did we go from air traffic controllers to highways and bridges?" So are you just making this stuff up? So he goes on and he talks for a long, long time. He talks about community block grants at 3.3 billion. He talks about Indian housing block grant for 1.1 billion. He talks about increasing investments in historically underfunded tribal road programs. He talked about his examples of fair housing rule at HUD, and then he says this. This does nothing to impair HUD's enforcement of the Fair Housing Act, but cuts red tape for public housing authorities and other recipients of HUD funds. He never gives the bill, he never gives the budget, he never gives it to us. And that was the end of the conversation. And he sits down, he goes, I yield the floor. What? I see why y'all aren't doing anything in here. Don't worry, let me go on to the financial services because that's the other one they want to fund. And I said, okay, so y'all fund the stuff that you all are gaining, like some serious pork. Y'all know when I talk about pork and beans and these bills, and these are 12 appropriation bills. And why am I sharing this? Well, number one, we're 8 days away from the government being shut down. We're 8 days, and that'll be 1 week before Thanksgiving, and that'll be a couple of 3 weeks before Christmas and New Year's. We're really doing this, and this is right before they go on break. They go on recess. They're like, we're out. We didn't do anything. We're gone. And I'm sharing this because when we're talking about going into primaries of 2024, we need to understand what they're really talking about in here and what they're really doing. Which, by the way, I read this. I'm like, yep, you didn't talk about nothing. You just gave your committee report and did not finalize, but you're going to send this to the Senate. That's why Chuck Schumer and the other ones, if you want to understand them, you're saying, well, why isn't the Senate signing this? Because they turned in nothing. They turned in nothing, y'all. They turned in nothing. So, financial services, which oversees funding for the Department of Treasury, okay, the executive office of the president, and other government functions. Now, the subcommittee chairperson is Steve Womack of Arizona. Yeah, I had to go find out who's running this ship over here. So Womack gives some remarks during the floor consideration on HR 4664. Again, that's HR 4664. This is federal government. Now, the Financial Services and General Government Appropriation Act. So I went sneaking, being nosy, because I need to figure out what was going on with financial services. Because now y'all messing with the stock market, okay? You're messing with that. That's why the stock market is all over the place. Y'all, all these things connect, so pay attention. Kim Edmondson can talk about that, I'm sure. So on November the 8th, y'all, this was just yesterday. Y'all, the government's gonna shut down on November the 17th. You mean to tell me you had a speaker how long now? Ain't this just yesterday that y'all bringing this to the floor? And it needs to go through all the systems to pass? Are you kidding me right now? What you been doing since y'all called Mike Johnson to the floor? What have you been doing? So he says, Mr. Chairman, I am. This is a direct transcript. I pulled the transcripts, y'all. Y'all can pull them too. Mr. Chairman, I am pleased to begin consideration of HR 4664, the fiscal year 2024 financial services and general government appropriation bills. Mr. Chairman, HR 4664. By the way, did y'all notice I didn't give any number to the previous one? That man was just up there talking, okay? Tom was just talking. At least this dude, Womack, gave me some numbers. He says, Mr. Chairman, HR 4664 provides 25.279 billion in non-defense discretionary spending across a number of critical agencies. He said, now, this is incredible. Okay. He goes on and says it also includes 45 million in defense spending, but it rejects over 6 billion of discretionary funding increases within the president's budget request. Now at least he's giving me numbers and I'm able to add and subtract and see where the numbers are going. And so far it was going really well until he says this bill represents an adequate level of funding given our fiscal constraints. Y'all got constraints, really? He says it is 7% below the fiscal year 2023 enacted level and 2% below the fiscal year 2022 enacted level. Okay. You're not even at 10%, but okay. The bill provides the resources necessary to combat threats and protect the integrity of our financial and judicial systems. So he's going through talking about the Inflation Reduction Act. That's the IRS funding. Preventing. Remember, they wanted to the bill they're sending. And see, the news isn't breaking it down like I'm about to break it down to you right here. But the bill that they're sending to the Senate, they're sending a bill where they're trying to pull back from the IRS. Why? Because the IRS is about to look at all of y'all's financials. So y'all want to cut the IRS, okay? Now it doesn't help those of us way down here on this lower rung, but they want to cut the IRS and they want to increase the defense, the financial services. Y'all are following this, right? They want to increase that so their pockets are good. Dr. Antoinette says if they wreck the economy, they can blame President Biden in 2024 election and says how glorious everything was under the 91 indictment having a former guy. You are absolutely correct. Marion Jackson says we are paying them to do nothing and they will be on break enjoying the holidays while their constituents are struggling. Bingo. So y'all, this is what's happening. So it says this does not touch taxpayer services or the modernization of business systems. Now, pause right there for just a moment, y'all, because I look at things differently coming from a journalist standpoint and coming from this person who likes to analyze all these politics. Now, notice Tom, I'm gonna just call him Tom, Representative Tom. Tom didn't give all this flowery language, okay? He was just like on it, like, look, this is what I did, this is what we're gonna do, this is what we're gonna cut. Like it or not, this is how it's gonna roll out. And we're gonna give some money to HUD. We're gonna give some money to transportation. We're gonna hire 1,800 aviation people. But beyond that, that's all I got for you. That was Tom. This dude right here, Womack, Steve. He's like, well, listen. He's giving all these words to make you think this man know what he's talking about. He don't know what he's talking about. Mm-mm. And probably one of his aides wrote this, okay? Because even with this, he says we also rescind the IRA money from the General Services Administration. That's the GSA, y'all. Y'all know what these initials stands for. So GSA is the General Services Administration. Now the IRA is the Inflation Reduction Act. Okay, just want to put that out there. Not the IRA, not your stock market, not that. Mm-mm. So he talks about target to make federal buildings greener. Well, what does that have to do with financial services? What exactly are we doing here? So then he starts giving all this, like, I'm proud this bill requires federal agencies to return to the office at pre pandemic telework levels. Yeah, they calling all the people, federal workers, to come back to the buildings because they got to pay for these buildings and there's nobody in the building. So we get this. Okay, we get it. We got it. Okay. And then he goes, we must hold the federal workforce accountable for the quality of their work and service they provide to the American people. Hold up, wait a minute. What about you? Are you doing that in your role? You getting $174,000 a year. You pay $650 for a full benefit health package and all the other benefits. You get a stipend for your apartment in DC. You get a stipend for your transportation. You get a stipend for this, that, and the other. And you getting some pork behind what you just submitted, buddy. Are you seriously throwing the federal workers under the bus? Are you doing it, y'all? This is how we need to look at it when we are voting. Kim Edmondson says that's their only tactic. Oh, she's talking about Adrian. She says playing the blame game is one of the few tactics. See, there it is. So then he goes on to say this bill, and y'all, I'm slow walking this for a reason because all of us have somebody who's working in the federal government. Okay, there's a connection. He says the bill demands that agencies concentrate on their core mission. He goes, let me say that again. This is a transcript that I'm reading from him being on the floor on November the 6th. He said it's important that the agencies that we fund stick to their core mission. Are you sticking to your core mission, buddy? We just want y'all to stop slinging mud. Stop calling in. I'll get to that in a moment. Hold on. He goes, it's important that the agencies that we fund stick to their core mission. And then he goes, the pursuit of job killing, burdensome, and unnecessary regulations only serve to further bloat the federal bureaucracy that has become, in my strong opinion, too big, too intrusive, and counterintuitive to limited government. Limited government. Wait, hold up. Wait a minute. What's all this with the abortion bill? If you want limited government, you just want to control women and their bodies? Like, come on now. Yeah, I threw that in there. I had to put that in there. Whether I agree or disagree, I had to throw it in there. So make up your mind. Do you want limited government, big government? You want to control certain aspects of the government? What exactly do you want to do? All right. So he talks about let's turn off the rulemaking. Really? So we want to stop policies, we want to stop referendums, we want to stop bonds, we want to stop levies. Help me understand where you're going with this. And exactly how is this fitting into financial services, buddy? Tell me, tell me, tell me. And then he goes on to say, further, we prohibit agencies like the SEC. Y'all know who they are, right? The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, that's a CFPB, from collecting and storing personal data. You don't want us to see what you're doing? Oh, is this about Clarence Thomas? That now we can understand where the money's coming from and the connection to the money? You want us to stop that? Is that what you're really talking about, Womack? Huh? Because we now know what y'all doing and people are uncovering your spending. You want to stop those kind of rules, huh? Well, we not liking that. And we can vote all of y'all out in 2024 if we really follow what's happening here. I'm just saying what I'm saying. He says to be clear, the agencies under our jurisdiction performs important functions. However, many have strayed from their purpose and results and have been true disservice to the American people. This bill responsibly returns them to their core mission. You lost me, Steve. You lost me because I'm not sure what exactly that's doing. And then, y'all, the House, that has to go to the Senate. Chuck Schumer and them like, don't be bringing me that stuff because we're not about to sign that. And that's going to make them look bad. But it is what it is. Deborah Johnson says, sis, you are on fire this morning. Look, I'm over it, Deborah. I am over it. When I read this, and I wish that we as a people, especially since we're paying their salary, if we would read, they take the time to read things, but that's okay because I'll read it for you. But even don't, I don't want you to take my word for it. Read it for yourself. It's a lot of reading, it's a lot of pages you have to go through, but read it because y'all reading this right here. I'm like, what in the hell are y'all doing up on Capitol Hill? And I did say hell. What are y'all doing exactly? Elizabeth said, this is how we need to educate people. They don't know the power they have to remove people from office with a vote. You are absolutely correct. Y'all, this is what they're doing with our money. We're paying them. Okay, 174,000. That's the base pay. That's a newbie. That's a rookie that's coming in there. $174,000 a year. They pay $650 annually for their insurance. They don't have a copay when they go see the doctor. They don't even get a bill back, okay? They don't, they just go and all the other benefits that come along with it. It's time that we say enough is enough. But in the other corner, we have the House Oversight Committee. Okay. They're still trying to impeach Joe Biden. So the House Oversight Committee subpoenas Hunter Biden. You're going to call his son. Y'all trying to go after his son. Now you're going to subpoena the son to go after his dad. Are you crazy? Do you really think he's gonna give you anything? Seriously. And the other member of his family, his brother, for an impeachment inquiry. Y'all done turned over every stone there is to turn over. You can't find anything. So now you're gonna try to get the family to start fighting each other? Come on. Come on. But let me tell you, Congress, what's really happening. Because while all of this is happening, all of y'all shenanigans, CNN is reporting that the U.S. credit card balances rise to a record high of 1.08 trillion. That's with the T in the third quarter. Y'all, that's up 48 billion. That's with the B from the previous quarter, and 154 billion. That's with the B from a year ago. Y'all, this is the largest year over year increase in record. So, Congress, while you in there farting around, just like trying to play this and play that, and while you got a dude up in there with 9 aliases and you're censoring everybody and you are just fattening your pocket, your American people, the constituents, are drowning in credit card debt. And don't say that's our fault that we're doing it. We're just trying to survive. We need to get gas in the car. We're trying to keep milk in the refrigerator. We're trying to keep butter and bread. We're trying to just eat. We're just trying to make it. But this is what you want to play around with. I'm sick of it, y'all. This was election week, and things were said, things came out, and things are changing. Even in Hollywood, they finally have a tentative deal. But look at 118 days of a fight with that. The UAW, school teachers, school administration in Oregon, in Seattle, in all these different places. You have the Kaiser Permanente health people saying, we're done with this, we're over this, we're walking out. They have a tentative deal as well. And I know we're supposed to get to sports, but we're not going to get there today because I'm trying to zone in today on what's happening. So I'm sorry, Isaiah. Isaiah's like, he don't care. We just got to keep going. So the inspirational message today is we got to change the narrative, people. We got to change this narrative. Elizabeth saying exactly the House Oversight Committee should be overseeing something that makes sense for the American people. Kim Edmondson says people are just trying to survive. We are just trying to survive. But I'm going to give you all this information in the survival mode. We also have to be smart. We have to be smart with our spending. We have to go back. Listen, y'all can say what y'all want to. Y'all better go back to these mom and pop shops. People who are not giving money. I saw a post from a friend of mine the other day, and it's not by quote, but she says, how can we go to these department stores and buy for the holidays when those tax dollars are going to kill people? dang, that was like, boom, let's just tell everybody what it's like. I said, girl, you just hit me hard on that one. She goes, Gail, let's talk about this. How are we doing this? When are we going to go back to the mom and pop shop? She goes, are they really over? Is it really gone? Can we change that narrative? So the inspirational message is called Change the Narrative. We got to change the narrative and change our mindset. Y'all stop saying, and I get pushed back on this all the time, but I really don't care. You can keep voting down ballot if you want to. And yes, I've done that in 2020 and 2022 on purpose because I needed to get that former guy up out of there. It's like by any means necessary. But now it's like, let me think about this differently. Who do I need to vote for? Who's really for the American people? What do they look like? What are their characteristics? And how can we rise to that? So AP reports that Andy Bashir, he won, he was the incumbent in Kentucky for governor. He said, basically, he said, stop rallying up the people. He says, stop voting based upon anger. Stop running off of the narrative of anger. Stop running off the narrative of nastiness. He said, you look at all of the different things that they did in the campaign, from trying to demonize groups of people to just so many different attacks. He says, stop trying to find the boogeyman and just run on the facts and run on what's truth. He goes on to say, to show leadership in a different way, one that puts love over hate, one that doesn't judge lest we be judged, and tries to lead with compassion and recognize that this isn't a game. Y'all, we got to stop letting these people think they can play us. They're playing us like chess pieces. And what the problem is, many of us are playing checkers because we don't even know how to play chess. And those of us, there's many of us don't even know how to play checkers. We think it's about skipping here, skipping there, and grabbing up and putting it in your pot. Look, we are losing. There's a hole in our bag. And it's time for us to fill up the hole. And we fill up that hole with education. We got to educate ourselves, y'all, on what's going on out here. We got to stop listening to all the naysayers. Stop listening to, well, let's just vote for the lesser of two evils. I don't want to vote for any evil. I want to vote for love. I want to vote for people who are going to take care of people. I'm no longer worried about me. I'm 58 years old, okay? Hopefully, I'll live another 20 years if I still got this kind of energy. But I'm thinking about my children. And if my children never have children, their children. I'm thinking about my nieces and my nephews, my great nieces and my nephews. I'm thinking about my neighbors and their children. Look, they can't live like this. If it's going to keep inflating and keep going up, we have a problem. Elizabeth says, change the narrative, y'all. We have to change the narrative. Adrian says, play with strategy, y'all. We have to play with strategy. Seriously, we have to start being advocates for ourselves in every area. Jackie says, preach to the people, Gail. Listen, Jackie, I'm trying to share the stories, trying to share this message, and I want people to make a move. We got to stop staying idle and waiting for someone to tell us what to do. We have to start thinking for ourselves. Elizabeth says, don't make moves from emotions, make moves from passion and peace. Absolutely, y'all. I love the American people so much that it's like, what do I need to do? And if I get attacked in the process, I get attacked in the process. I don't care. I don't care. We need to start studying these people. Show up at the town halls. I'm curious, in Franklin County, Latrice Jones asked you all to show up at the board meeting yesterday. How many of you in that county who have children in that school, you pay your taxes in Franklin County? How many of you showed up? She had a call to action. Did anybody show up? Did anybody show up to say, Latrice, we're with you. We want to hear, we want to move effectively? Who is doing that? Y'all, listen, turn off the idiot box. It's just a repeat of the television over and over and over and over and over again. Many of us got 300 channels, and it's the same repeats. And this was even before the strike, okay? Before the strike. Robert Holman says, play for the end game. Listen, I don't know what it's going to take. And I've been praying, asking God to give me the energy and the finances to educate the people. For those who want to listen, if there's one person that show up, it just be one person. If there's 1,000 people to show up, it'll be 1,000 people. But we have to have these conversations. This is what they're doing in Congress, making $174,000. Yes, a year. And that's not including all their benefits. When you put their whole entire benefit package together, y'all, it's $500,000. Yes, and that's public information. Go Google it for yourselves. Kim Edmondson says, yes, we have to start showing up. Elizabeth Town says, yes, what's the end game? And we can't keep talking about it. That's why I'm taking time on News in Motion to break these things down and giving all of us critical thinking questions so that we can critically think through what's happening, what's before us. All right, y'all, that's all I have for today. You make it a great weekend. Again, I'm sorry, Isaiah, that I didn't bring you one to give the who's playing this weekend. Y'all can just go Google who's playing football this weekend and what time are the games. And I'll let Isaiah come in here on Monday and give a recap for both the NFL and the college football. But y'all keep moving out here, okay? Keep making some bold moves. It's necessary that you make some bold moves. And bold moves at times mean that you will move alone, and you have to be okay with that. You have to be okay with moving alone. It's all right. It's okay. Right, Phil? Phil, put up your glass. I want you to write me back, Phil. Let me know what you had, what was in your mimosa glass this morning. All right, y'all. Until Deborah Johnson says you got me fired up. Look, what was Obama's word? Fired up and ready to go. Let's do something, okay? Let's do something. All right, y'all. Live your life in abundance. Until Monday, I am Gail Dudley, your host of News in Motion. Thank you so much for tuning in. We are out.
News in motion.